with Miss Clare Lopez on Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024 at 2:03 p.m. Eastern Time. And as I was just telling her, we normally do our Thursday shows, but it is April and we are expecting a foot and a half of snow tomorrow here in Portland, Maine, and which that doesn't surprise me as much. My dad grew up in New England and he said it, yeah, no, you get snow way into April. That's not the surprising part. They haven't figured out how to keep internet and power going here, which I just don't understand. They've been here for I don't know how old Portland is, 300 years, and it's not new. Snow isn't new, and so yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm like an old Western settler. I'm like, we can't do any podcasts tomorrow. Snow's coming in. We gotta stay warm. So, but guys, please go follow Miss Clare Lopez in the description. You can find her Twitter as well as all the websites, all your writings. Does tons of interviews, writes a lot, and she is a never-ending wealth of information. So, Miss Lopez, how are you?
Better weather here, I have to say, than in Maine. Snow in the first week of April. That's crazy, but
Yeah,
we just have
madness.
gloomy and rain over here.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing though. Is like it's gonna if it's not snow, it's rain. It's I don't know. I
Yeah,
might as well watch something beautiful. And I'm 5 floors up, so there was like flood warning. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. I'll watch the turmoil from up here. But um, so asking you about topics because we actually have. I'm currently uploading the whole library of podcasts to Mike Lindell's platform,
oh,
Frank's page.
right. Good.
So like once a year or something, I'll find a new platform and I'll upload everything. And because there's so many episodes, I'll do like 20 a day and just. But it's like a walk down memory lane. I just see old titles, and it
Sure.
actually I was
Yeah.
uploading one of ours, and it is
Huh.
Havana syndrome. And I texted you. I said topics for today. You said F-16
Oh,
sales to Israel or Havana syndrome. And so I put F-16 to Israel in the thumbnail, but I wanted to ask you what is new with Havana syndrome, which
yeah.
you're explain it.
Right. So the timing is right for this because what has happened is that CBS News on its 60 Minutes program this past weekend ran an update on its show that they call Targeting Americans. And the 60 Minutes team and producers have been conducting a 5-year investigation into the Havana syndrome. Now, what the syndrome is a cluster of really debilitating symptoms that include um, even up to blindness, nausea, vomiting. And let me look at my notes here for all the rest of it. Um, Lack of balance, difficulty in maintaining balance. Come on, where is this? Um,
Migraines.
but these are all sort of this kind of cluster of symptoms that oh, here we go, headaches, memory problems too, that have been afflicting Americans posted abroad, hundreds of them apparently, reports anyway, and they include both the American officials posted abroad themselves and members of their family. Um, and this has been going on since about 2015. Now, that was the year when the Obama administration opened an embassy in Havana, Cuba. And that's where the name comes from because our State Department officials at that new opened embassy in Havana were the first ones to report these kinds of symptoms. And unfortunately, at first and for quite a while, really, doctors and officials at the State Department, they just kind of blew these people off. And they said, oh, it's psychosomatic, here, take 2 aspirin, call me in the morning kind of thing, and brushed them off. But these were serious, real symptoms. They weren't imagined in any way, shape, or form. And the way people, described it, they sometimes would say that they felt like they were being blasted,
Mm.
in through their ears or into their heads. Um, and that fits the description really, of some kind of a microwave or acoustic ultrasound.
Mm.
And over the following years, as I said, from 2015 to the present, It wasn't just in Cuba, but people assigned to our diplomatic facilities all over the world, and not just even in, adversary, positions, posts like China or Russia, you might say, okay, but places including Europe, including Australia, including even reports coming out of Washington, D.C.
Hmm.
at the Eisenhower office building, which is adjacent to the White House itself. So the reports have continued. People are truly suffering from these symptoms, and sometimes they don't go away. Even when the people leave, that place where they were posted to, the symptoms have persisted for some of them. So it's really serious. And so CBS and the 60 Minutes team, have, to their credit, been on this for quite a number of years, 5 years, that they've been looking into this. And the reason that they did an update just this past weekend on the show was to bring on particularly a couple of people. One, a retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel named Lieutenant Colonel Greg Edgreen, who formerly led the Pentagon investigation into these incidents. And he came on the show this past weekend and said he's absolutely confident that it's Russia that's behind these attacks. And he says that they are part of a worldwide campaign to neutralize US officials.
Hmm.
Um, and the reason, or one of the reasons, I guess, that he points the finger at Russia is that they have the capability to do this, to launch, these microwave or acoustic ultrasound blasts. They have that capability. But second, also, of course, that Russia, has a worldwide presence. Not every country,
Yeah.
has embassies or consulates all over the world, but Russia does in all the places that these Americans have been posted, for example. Um, and what happened is that also recently, and this was brought up on the 60 Minutes program, is that a car. Now let me look at this again. A car, I guess that was stopped, detained in Florida recently, contained documents that pointed the finger at a particular GRU, that's Russian military intelligence, a GRU unit that goes by a special unit number 29155, that is known to have been or be working on portable microwave transmitters of the kind that could emit, these kinds of acoustic ultrasounds that perhaps are behind the symptoms for these people. So that brings it up to date.
That is mad. And how long, if not already, until those have lethal capacity, right? I mean, how much further down the road of development do you have to go before you can imagine rupturing a vein in the brain? You know,
Well, I mean, again, even without,
even without that,
that
sure.
the seriousness of these
Oh
people
yeah,
suffering from these symptoms for a very long time, some of them,
yeah.
is something that needs to be taken seriously. And I do hope that now the State Department and U.S. government more broadly, Pentagon for its military attaches at embassies, hoping that they're taking this seriously now.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you could do it, why wouldn't you? I mean, if you're an adversary and you have a way of seemingly without a footprint to harass at the very least the nation you're rivaling, why wouldn't you do? I mean, I think it makes perfect sense that they would do it. It's just a matter of I don't know how long until that escalates to people. And again, it's not to make light of the symptoms they're having, but I mean, how long until people are just dropping dead? How long until you take out a key
Yeah.
diplomat or a I don't know a visiting general or that's a kind of gray area you get into.
Yeah, well, I mean, kudos to CBS and 60 Minutes and their team that's been conducting this investigation for these last 5 years,
Mm,
and then airing their program to show their results and the information they've gathered. That at least brings it to public attention, which then maybe now can levy some more, um, you know, uh, pressure,
mm.
legitimate questions, for the State Department, Pentagon, and Department of Defense.
Yeah. To pivot, what is the significance of selling? I know we don't sell F-22s, F-22 Raptor, the B-2 Spirit. Those are the primos. I know that our allies will sell F-35s to, I think, Australia, UK. Um, what is the importance of F-16, or is it not? Is it not the selling of them? Is it giving them to Israel? What is the importance?
F-16s are,
F-16s, yeah,
yeah, being approved.
the Viper.
Um, had some notes on that too here. They're being approved for sale to Israel. Yes, these are high performance, jets. And by the way, um, the Israelis have done us a lot of favors as well in return for earlier, F-16 shipments that they've received. And they have, not only provided upgrades to those systems, but done testing and shared the results with us. So, this is not just a one-way
Yeah.
gift. But yes, the F-16 package. What did I see? They're amounting to quite a bit of money. Um, I'm sorry, I don't have it
No,
right in
you're
front of
you're
me
you're
here,
fine.
but
You're fine.
I think it amounts to, I saw something up in the 18 billion,
Ooh,
maybe, if I recall the number.
ooh.
But now those jets will not be able to be delivered right away. It'll be some time before they are all sent to Israel. But it looks like once Congress does have to approve for that amount of money, Congress has to approve that. So it will go to Congress. It's expected that Congress will approve that sale. And then these jets actually have to be built. They don't exist at the moment
No,
sitting on the back lot
no,
someplace.
yeah.
So they'll have to be produced, and that will take a number of years. But it does look like Israel will be getting a number of these really high performance jets.
So it takes a couple of years to make them. Obviously we're not giving them like hand me downs or something. Is this in response to the October 7th attacks? Because that seems like in all of my
Well, I
geopolitical
mean, the
wisdom.
timing looks that way, but
Okay,
I would expect that, this request probably came in quite some time ago.
okay. So then what's necessarily the significance?
Well, that they are going to receive these, at a certain date future. Um, but the announcement is being made now, that it's in the pipeline, as it were. Once Congress does, approve the expenditure.
Hmm. And then what is the importance of the Biden G phone call?
So it's interesting that this being yesterday, Tuesday,
The second.
the 2nd of April, when reporters, media that I know, they get that daily readout of the schedule for the White House, and it'll have meetings or important events on that schedule for President Biden for that day. And there was not any mention when that was handed out, of a phone call with President Xi Jinping of China. But then it happened. It did happen. And so, in any case, that was the first time that President Biden had actually spoken with Xi Jinping since last November 2023, when she was in the United States, in San Francisco, California, as a matter of fact, for a meeting of the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Group. And at that time, Biden traveled out to California and they met there. But that was the last time. So we're talking a good 5 months, since that meeting happened. And this phone call covered a number of topics. There was a White House statement put out after the phone call to say that they talked about really serious issues like artificial intelligence, climate change, The importance, which President Biden says that he emphasized, importance of maintaining peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait, which of course is international waters, and the rule of law and freedom of navigation in the South China Sea. This, of course, in the wake of Chinese Navy attacks against shipping vessels belonging to our ally Philippines, as well as other aggression in the South China Sea. Biden reportedly also raised concerns about China's support for Russia's defense industrial base, that, of course, is right now fully engaged in supporting Russia, Putin's aggression, the invasion of Ukraine. Oh, they also talked about the complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, not just North Korea, the Korean Peninsula. So that is what we are told they talked about. I have a number of things that I wish they would have talked about, but there's no report that they did.
Like what?
Well, I might start with things like the continuing flood of fentanyl,
The
opioids
southern
over our
border.
wide open southern border, because we know that the precursor chemicals to make that fentanyl come out of China, probably out of triads, criminal organizations in China, which operate with the full knowledge and at least tacit acquiescence of the CCP, Chinese Communist Party. And then those precursors go to Mexico, and the Mexican drug cartels mix them up and turn them into finished product fentanyl. Oh, yes, and China also exports the pill presses that are needed to punch out the tablets, the pills, once you've got the fentanyl mixture all set. But no mention of that was reported in the White House statement in any case. How about continuing intellectual property theft by China against American companies? How about the flood also of young, fit, military-aged Chinese men coming across our southern border,
Michael Yan, yeah, the
identified by
jungle
some
tigers.
as jungle tigers, a special forces unit of the Chinese People's Liberation Army. Not a mention of that either that I know of. How about trade policies? Continuing problems with trade policies on the part of China. How about TikTok, which we know is a not only an influence operation platform on social media aimed at our young people, especially, but it's also a data collection, data mining platform through which the Chinese Communist Party and the Ministry of State Security, the MSS, can scoop up out of whatever device you've got this TikTok app on, be it your cell phone or your laptop or notebook or whatever it might be. Scoop up all of your data from that device, your contacts and all their phone numbers and addresses and your passwords, your banking account, all of that, you know. No, not a mention that I can tell. I might also have mentioned something about these, at least heretofore, secret Chinese police stations across the United States, which are not diplomatic facilities and have no diplomatic function or authority to be in this country,
Yeah, that's
but they are.
insane. That's insane.
And then, aside from that, the so-called secret service stations of China, likewise all over our country, at least a handful, half dozen or so of each of these, the police stations, the secret service stations, neither of which are diplomatic facilities. But I have never heard of any U.S. official, State Department, or President Biden himself given the opportunity of laying down some lines to the Chinese Communist Party. You will close these police stations and these Secret Service stations, and you have until X deadline to do it. none of that was mentioned, as best I can tell from the readout that we got from the White House during the Biden-Xi call yesterday.
You've told me about the police stations before. What are the secret? So, same as our Secret Service. So like,
No, it appears from what we can tell from reporting that's made, the open source media, that both of them, both kinds of stations, Chinese stations, might be geared towards harassing and intimidating Chinese nationals in this country, um, and even coercing them, to return home, but to face who knows what. But if those Chinese nationals are in any way dissidents against the CCP regime in Beijing, um, either to harass and intimidate them to just stop talking, be quiet, stop talking about that stuff. We know about your relatives back home in China, kind of thing, or even to go all the way to coercing them through threats and intimidation to go back to China. One of the most recent, apparently, campaigns by the CCP against Chinese nationals and groups is against the Shen Yun dance theater company, which, as you know, probably is a wonderful, marvelous uh, theater dance company that puts on performances all over the world, and including here in the United States, in a way to celebrate genuine Chinese culture, before the CCP, but Chinese culture through music and dance. It's utterly beautiful from what I've seen, on sites like Epoch Times, for example. But to threaten them, there's a campaign to threaten the dancers and the directors and so forth of the Shenyun Dance Company. That is what I think probably is what these both the secret police stations and the secret service stations, are geared to do here with their presence in the United States.
the dance company. The hell, that is madness. The Can you go back to the? I mean, I think you've told me before about the Chinese Navy and harassment, but specifically against the Philippines. Could you
Well,
expand on that?
against different countries' fishing fleets,
Mm-hmm.
for example, when they fish in the open international waters of the South China Sea and other nearby waters. But very recently there was an incident that maybe saw the video online somewhere that Chinese naval vessels um, not only harassed Philippine fishing vessels, but um, doused them with spray of high intensity spray of water. That's the kind of harassment that the Chinese Navy does against these other nations, um, vessels, and that was an example recently.
Why? I mean, go all out and sink them. But why? Why? What? That's like
To harass
chi-
them, to try to
childish.
chase them out of international waters, which South China Sea is. But that China, the regime has what they call the 9 dash line. Hear of this? On a map, which the Chinese the government has published, they have drawn a line of dashes, dash, 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 around um, uh, islands that include Taiwan in the South China Sea, but others as well, claimed by other U.S. allies, Japan, Philippines, and so forth, um, and including the waters around the Asian mainland. And the 9 dash line, as they call it, the CCP claims it's exclusively, but it's not, of course, it is international waters. And these other allied countries of ours, for example, Japan belongs to the Quad, that is Japan, India, Australia, and the United States. Um, but their vessels, either naval vessels and or fishing vessels, commercial vessels, um, get harassed and even attacked like this if they're inside of what China claims its own territorial waters of this 9-dash line.
It seems so childish. Took a map and no, these are ours. Don't touch them. These are ours. I mean,
Yeah, and under international law, they are not. Those waters are not theirs exclusively.
well,
They're international waters.
it all comes back to what we've spoken
Or
about.
even economic exclusionary zones of these individual countries when you get closer to them and their islands.
What is that economic?
Economic exclusionary zone, which means that within a boundary of, it's a small boundary, I think maybe 12 nautical miles or something like that, around the actual, let's say they're Japanese islands of Japan, that is their economic exclusionary zone that they claim as territorial waters, and
Okay.
that's international law.
Okay.
But beyond that, out of that, further out from that, is what China's claiming um, the right to harass them in.
Well, it's kind of more evidence that not evidence, I guess, but treaties and laws and none of this matters. It's all
No,
enforced by military might, and what we're seeing is what you've
yeah.
brought up before is we're seeing what the absence of a strong U.S. presence. It's just what it is. You don't have to like it. It's just the absence of a strong arm.
Or even the impression, the perception that is given,
Yeah,
by the Biden White House
no credible deterrence.
vis-a-vis other places, like the Middle East, like turning against Israel, stabbing them at the back at the United Nations Security Council vote, um, or withdrawal of influence and power and sort of acquiescence and appeasement of the Islamic Republic of Iran, its regime, with all of its proxies across the Middle East, Islamic terror proxies. But the impression given by the sum total of the Biden administration, policy, um, gives the impression to others like China, even if it's far removed from the Middle East, let's say, that this is an administration that can be pushed around or ignored, and that's what's happening.
What happened with Israel at the UN?
So about a week ago, yet another resolution was introduced at the United Nations Security Council, which has 5 permanent members, as you know, US, UK, France, Russia, and China, and an additional 10 members that are rotating. So total of 15. And this resolution was presented to them, but for the first time, and there had been previous similar resolutions presented, and earlier, for example, China and Russia vetoed them. US has vetoed earlier ones even than those. But the wording on this one kind of decoupled the proposal or the demand for an immediate ceasefire by the Israelis in Gaza against Hamas, decoupled that demand from what had previously always been linked to it and dependent on it, and that was release of the hostages that Hamas still holds, most Israelis, but also 5 Americans and some other
Still,
nationalities too.
still.
But for the first time, those two things were decoupled. It wasn't that a ceasefire would be dependent on and not happen until Hamas released the hostages. This time they decoupled it, even though the wording was present in the same resolution, they weren't linked, right? And so for the first time, the United States did not veto that one. 14 members voted in favor of it, and the US abstained. And that was a betrayal of our friend and ally Israel.
Also betrayal of the hostages. I didn't know there were still U.S.
Yeah.
hostages.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that is such a self neutering. Like it's. I mean, there's got to be levels of priority, and before you betray hostages, I would imagine you betray an ally. You shouldn't betray an ally, but if someone has to go, it'd be the non-American. Really, you're not. That's like the number one thing you do as like a form of sovereignty. Is like, no, 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 no. You don't take them hostage. Send in whoever. Do
Yeah.
I mean, what did Admiral Howe say when Mike Durant was hostage? He said, "I don't want to destroy your city, but I will if you don't give us Mr. Durant, and we might destroy him in the process." But
Yeah.
it's the principle of we will
Well,
bulldoze the city.
yeah, and by such a contrast with language that came, from President Biden and the White House and the Biden administration in the days immediately following the October 7th Shabbat massacre last year, which were totally supportive of Israel. We're there with you. We've got your back. Um, and indeed, the Biden administration does continue to send, in particular, ammunition and weapons to the IDF. Yes, they do. But always before, with these previous Security Council resolutions, um, if those two things, the ceasefire and demand for a ceasefire and release of the hostages, were not completely tightly linked, the U.S. vetoed that resolution, which, the Permanent Five have that veto power. We always vetoed it and had Israel's back. That's not the only example. We've had Israel's back at the UN Security Council on other issues dating back years. But in this case, that was the first time for multiple resolutions, that the U.S. Did not veto that resolution, but rather abstained. And then, of course, the previous one, it was China and Russia that vetoed it. And I guess precisely because in that resolution, those two demands were linked. But so this was the first time. And, even though we continue to send, weapons and ammunition to Israel, and, have, yes, as we just talked about,
The sale.
tentatively agreed to to sell some additional F-16s to them too. But that Security Council resolution failure on the part of the Biden administration was seen and heard all over the world. And by the way, Hamas itself issued a statement uh, of approval
Hmm.
for
Huh.
U.S. having abstained from that resolution,
That's that's a
which is
that's
disgusting,
insane. That's
just
insane.
disgusting.
So then why? If they've been vetoing in the past, and actions speak louder than words, and we're giving them ammunition, we're clearly just sold them F-16s. Why this then? Is this devil's
It's a
advocate? Is this
shift.
is
I
this
mean, it's a shift, and I forget who it was. James Carville. I don't want to name somebody wrong, but a quip that came out of a commentator just recently, and it kind of relates, and it's something to the effect of, this is an election year here in the United States, and
yeah.
the Biden team is really focused on a two-state solution, Michigan and Wisconsin. Somebody's quip. I don't want to misquote who it was,
That's
but
good.
in any case, a commentator recently said
That's
that. So,
sharp. That's
I
sharp.
mean, you ask why now? Why
Yeah.
maybe that's part of it.
Silly me.
Electorates in those states, perhaps elsewhere too, that the Biden election team thinks he really needs to win, and he's not doing so well in either these two, Michigan, Wisconsin. Well, Wisconsin, I guess they're tied, but Michigan and other, battleground states that he really needs to win for the Electoral College count, he's not. Former President Donald Trump is ahead by points and points in every one of the other, um, in Michigan and other battleground states. So
It's where's Dearborn? Is that Michigan? That's like the famously predominantly Muslim city.
lots of population there in and around Detroit, uh, Dearborn certainly, and other communities there in Michigan too.
Yeah, it's you know, you think about how heavily censored things like YouTube and Instagram Meta and all those are, and I've pointed out before, probably with you. It's It's like seeing the tip of an iceberg. If you see that at all, there's a lot under it. Even with something as heavily censored as, let's say, and curated as Instagram, you can do it right now. Go under any post by Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, and it's people saying like, I am a Democrat. I vote this way, and they are and regardless right or wrong, it's just what it is. They're saying I will not vote for you because of the genocide in Gaza or like the way you're arming them, even in Twitter. But Twitter less so. But if you the fact that those posts get through at all on something like Instagram to
Yeah.
me says worlds, because 90% of them have been plucked out, but those are still, despite the curation, it's almost entirely that. No matter what the post is, it could be you know, a great Wednesday, expecting snow, and it's you're a murderer. So you got to imagine that. Yeah, silly me for looking at it as an American, saying how come we're not going and getting him, as opposed to being a spineless demon in an election year, going, well, we got to get back into office. That's exactly what it is, and I kind of feel stupid for not thinking about that, but it's exactly what it is. Election year.
It certainly seems so. And of course, the drumbeat of surveys and polls coming out now, and this will continue all the way to November, I'm sure. That drumbeat of polls is showing increasing um, loss of key heretofore reliably Democratic Party voting blocks, and those include Hispanics, African Americans, and young people. And their support is just bleeding away from the Democrat side and moving over to the Trump side, which is um, kind of groundbreaking. I mean, we have not, I don't think, ever seen these kinds of polls in a presidential matchup.
I'm not gonna. I'll be honest. I kind of completely forgot it's an election year. What are the updates on that? Because Trump is the nominee. What are the polls saying? So they
Well,
they
that
shift as young.
the gap in these key constituencies between Biden and Trump is ever widening every month that they do more polls. And these are different polls, not just one, like it's not just Gallup, it's Gallup and all the others. And they align. They're pretty much in agreement. And what it shows is that in the key battleground states, so we're talking Michigan, not so much Wisconsin yet, which I believe is tied, but say Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Georgia, these states, which are critical for either side to make the electoral college count, that it's been edging upwards for Trump, 4%, 5%, even 6% and more, Trump over Biden, which is, again, it's unheard of.
Wild.
And this is only April. And
Yeah.
the trend is continuing. It doesn't go like up and down, up and down.
Okay.
It's a steady, rise in the numbers for Trump and a steady decline for the numbers for Biden.
What campaign? What elections are? What is it? Reagan? It's the economy. Stupid.
No, well, there's that for sure. Young people who want to get married, buy a house, start a family.
The
Well, they can't
basics.
afford it. I mean, even my two are renting a house. They
Yeah.
can't buy the house; they're renting it.
Yeah.
The the mortgage rates and the interest rates are just out of reach for so many. So the economy, certainly, ordinary families going shopping, on a weekly basis for ordinary supermarket food items and so forth, um, are seeing astronomical double-digit rate rises in prices for eggs, milk, bread. I mean, you name it. Um, since the Biden administration took office, never mind the gas pump prices. So, the economy probably does come first. And it's not getting better. Interest rates are holding steady. The Fed just met again, I think it was kind of recently, and decided to hold rates steady. They're not declining, they're not going down. But that's first, or at least near the top. And either at the top or very near the top, like number two, of course, is the border.
Yeah.
And so many communities across the United States, not just, Florida, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, southern border states, but every state a border state now, feeling the influx of these hordes, of unvetted, unchecked, no background check. Who are these people by the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands flooding into our communities and taking away resources that otherwise might go to those most in need in those places, or just plain old ordinary citizens? So people see these two issues: the border, with illegal alien, immigration, and of course the economy. Those two top the list for everybody.
Well, yeah, it's more, and again, in all of my wisdom, but it does seem to be that it's almost a hierarchy of needs. Like, as you're more financially secure, you can, dare I say, care about more luxury items on it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
You
but
have
if
disposable income, let's say.
you can get a little more, which I guess is, on a meta theme, is kind of the evolution of mankind to, have higher minded ideas, as we get away from living in the jungle. But yeah, once that starts to go, once eggs quintuple in price, you kind of don't care if they're saying the buzzwords you like. You're like, dude, I gotta fill my tank. I
Yeah,
gotta I gotta pay for my heater. Like, I don't. But we're pro. I don't care.
no,
You have a trans flag, good for you. I can't
yeah.
afford chicken. Like,
I mean, if all you can give your kids to eat are PBJs, which I happen to love, but
oh, me too.
PBJs, um, that's going to make an impact on your budgeting decisions.
And you don't. And the thing about being able to vote privately is no one has to say it. You have a lot of people that they might never admit they're voting for X, Y, or Z, but they'll
Yeah,
go in and pull the proverbial
yeah.
lever for anyone that's making make it so you can make ends meet. I mean, once
Hmm.
if you're not getting the money, I mean, man, those ideas go right out the window for either side. It's just, I don't care. I want,
Yeah.
I'm 33. Yeah, and this is my business. Yeah, I'm gonna take the guy that gets me more money.
Well, and talking about these surveys and polls too, everybody might not be admitting to the pollsters
Oh no.
for whom they are actually thinking of voting.
Yeah,
Um,
the
so
only
that
accurate
gap
polls to
might
vote.
be
Yeah.
very well might be even, wider than the numbers would indicate.
Yeah, no, you got a lot of people that don't want to say who they're voting. They don't want to admit they're voting for Orange Man, but if they're not making ends meet, how much do they really care about, that there
Well,
was
people remember. They remember what it was like in the 4 years of the Trump
right at the
administration.
beginning, that market was through the
People were
roof.
doing well. They could afford to buy a house, which, by the way, the median annual income necessary now to purchase an average priced home, not a mansion, not Martha's Vineyard or anything like that, just an average priced family home, you've got to be making over six figures, over $100,000 just to make the mortgage.
Yeah,
That's why nobody's buying houses.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm 33, no wife, no ex, no kids, no pets, no college
You got
debts.
to get cracking.
Well, right now, I'm trying to keep the podcast above water.
Yeah,
I
I
can get
know.
cracking if I've got no, but seriously, I can get cracking if I have excess money. I don't have now. Granted,
That's it.
this is a
That's
little
it.
different because this is my business. This isn't like a normal market job, so maybe that's not the best
Hmm.
example. But just as a individual, I'm
Right, right.
33. I look at my friends though, and I'm probably in the best case scenario out of anyone in my college class or high school class. They're all married, kids, working. I don't know how they're making it, man. I'm in an apartment by myself, and I'm like,
Just, yeah, no,
yeah,
I mean,
laser getting over.
what's happening is, as Biden and others in the administration keep bragging about, oh, the employment rate, unemployment is way down. You know why unemployment is down? Because people are holding down two and three jobs
Yeah,
apiece, and they're each part-time. They're not
yeah, they're
full-time jobs, husband
underemployed.
and wife both working, part-time jobs multiple. to try to make ends meet. That's why you can talk about unemployment numbers,
Yeah.
but that's not a good reflection of what's really going on in these homes and families.
Yeah. It's like
These
saying it.
aren't solid, you know, one earner or one, I mean, forget that, but, one job apiece, earners, making ends meet, multiple part-time jobs.
That's
That's
like
what's happening.
that's like bragging about the low obesity rate during the Great Depression. you're like yeah, well, there's a reason, and it's not health. Um,
Well, I think it's both, honestly. It was
hmm.
a different lifestyle then.
Sure, but in theory, the idea of bragging about that and being like they
Yeah.
did good, and it's like I don't know if they did. So yeah, I mean that's a huge one. It's just not it's not even anything necessarily special or difficult to figure out. I mean it's still the most
Oh,
powerful
they
economy in
know.
the yeah.
They're just not going to say so. The administration
No,
folks,
they'll wave flags. They'll
just not
say
going to say so to
they'll go
us,
they'll go look the rainbow flag. You'll go
we the people.
I can't
Yeah.
fill my car with gas, dude, but it's a rainbow flag. You're like, this is not working anymore. So that is I don't know, that is wild. Do you think I guess and we'll wrap it up. Do you think they're gonna put in a replacement for Biden come election? Do you think they're gonna slide one
I
in?
truly don't know. Honestly, the poor man is failing before our eyes.
He needs to be in a nursing home,
I mean, or at least, in a nice,
a loving
quiet,
home,
comfortable retirement.
not a White House
Um,
home.
not leader of the free world and running the White House, but is he even going to be able to make it physically, mentally to November the 5th or then to January the 20th? Um, I don't know. And would there be some kind of a move at the Democrat National Convention coming up this summer? I could see that. I don't know, but I could see that happening.
Yeah, it's weird when you see the headlines and they're trying to run these like smears against Trump for his mental acuity, which who
Forget that.
may,
Yeah,
sure I know maybe in a vacuum, maybe, but you can't do that while Biden's in office, right?
in such visible decline. And then former President Trump holds, what was it, at least two rallies yesterday,
It's insane.
packed,
It's insane.
thousands and thousands of people in each one, bringing the house down,
He's still
sharp as a
uh,
tack, combining, the data, the facts with, little slices of humor here and there,
he,
um, ad-libbing a bit off the teleprompter.
I
Biden can't do that.
no, and I'll always support Trump one just for I don't think there's anything wrong with putting your own country first and
Yeah,
and not
no,
starting new wars.
that's what a lot of us would like to see.
All that aside though, he's also just the funniest human being.
He really is. He's got a
And
great sense of humor. I love
he's
it.
I mean I think Joe Rogan was saying that on Joe Rogan's a comedian. He's saying with other comics, there's nothing funnier than President Trump on Twitter. Like that is
When he
the
riffs, when he gets off the
it's
teleprompter
amazing.
text. Yeah,
It is the funniest. It is the funniest.
yeah,
I can't. You can tell if people bring him up, I just start laughing. He is so goddamn funny. I just laugh. But
yeah.
and more importantly, a skyrocketing economy is also good. So, but Ms. Clare
Mm,
Lopez, let's wrap this one up. Thank you for your
okay.
flexibility in doing this one today. And
Yeah, no, thank you too.
apparently it is 1840 here in Portland, Maine, or it's the snow's coming in, and it's it's not 2024. So, but I'm gonna watch it, and it's gonna be beautiful. Kind of,
Yeah, no, I mean, watch it out your window, stay warm,
yeah.
and I
I got.
guess enjoy the view.
We're good.
Yeah, yeah, bundle up
Yeah, I
and
got it. I'm ready. I'm ready.
you're all set.
I don't have to interact with it.
There you
Um,
go.
but yeah, guys, please go in the description. Please go follow Ms. Lopez on Twitter, and please click on any of the links. We have all your links in the description, and I think that's the wholly all of it. So I will, if all things go according to plan, I will see you next week.
Okay.
Miss Clare
Sounds good to
Lopez,
me. Thank you, Tommy.
thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching. Everybody, please go give her a follow. Do something. Don't make me look like a bad host. All right. Thank you so much. God bless everybody. Much love. Peace.